and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast with your host, Mark Henry Jr. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _ right there in the display. And you can follow the podcast that we're listening to right now at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter. And you can follow the Painted Lines at the Painted Lines on Twitter. And please subscribe wherever you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you for joining us on today's show. We will go over my six-pack of bets for tonight, and we will go over my action from last night. But before we can get there, we have a very important word from our sponsors. So let's throw it over to there, and I'll be on the other side with my picks for tonight. So hang tight for a word from our sponsors over at BetRivers.
Hey, what's up, guys? MLB baseball is in full swing. The NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner, and the NFL season is mere moments away. While we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports, we are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover Podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
Don't miss out on that opportunity, and it will let them know over at BetRivers that TPL sent you. So before we get into today's picks for tonight, let's go over my record so far in May. It is 17-6, up 19 units, which means my best bet is 5-1 so far, which has been my big unit bets. I've been really good at finding value in my favorite bet of the night. Yesterday was my first loss in terms of the best bet, and I am 149 and 120, up 43 units so far on the Tough Cover Podcast since we started on March 1st, which is a rousing success. Each month has been better than the last, and we are hoping to continue it here since we're starting up 19 units in May, which is an unbelievable start for the first week of May. So we get to let's talk a little bit about last night, go too deep into it before we go into tonight. I started yesterday, I should say, with 2 wins during the day games. I had the Phillies money line. They cashed 2-0. Every Phillies game seems to be insanely close, and we'll talk about that in a little bit today. And then I had the Houston Astros plus 1.5 for 2 units against the Yankees, which was a really funny one. They were down all game until I believe they were down 4-3 in the bottom of the 8th or the top of the 8th, whatever it was. And the top of the 8th. And all the Yankees fans started booing Altuve, calling him a cheater, and he hits a 3-run homer to put them over the top on the Yankees. Just fantastic stuff. So that was a nice cash right there. Then we lost over 8.5 in Braves-Nats. Wasn't the high-scoring game we expected. 3-2 game. Oh, well, I'm not a huge person in terms of taking a full game over with both teams. I'm more of a team total guy or an under guy in baseball. And then we lost our first best bet of the year with the Charlotte Hornets plus 4.5. Just didn't show up. Lost by 21 to the Bulls. But we did hit the Dallas Mavs plus 3.5 over the Nets. So that was a 3-2 night and a plus 1.5 unit night. So it was our worst night so far in May, but it was still positive. We've stayed positive every day so far in May, and we're hoping to keep that into today. So if you have any comments about my picks from last night, or any picks that I give for the rest of the show, or any picks you may have, leave them in the comments and I'll pull them up on the screen. It's always more fun when I get to interact with you guys and talk the picks through. And on that note, keep an eye out on my Twitter. Maybe put tweet notifications on for when I do Twitter Spaces. It's basically, I don't know if any of you guys were on Clubhouse, but it's basically the same thing. I get to do basically a live radio show on Twitter. It's not a podcast form, so you can't access it after it's live, but it helps you guys are able to join and talk with me, and you guys can give me your picks and give your thoughts on my picks. It's a fun little exercise. I'm going to try to do almost every day, or at least when I have a podcast. So I'm going to probably in about an hour or a half hour after this podcast go on there and see if you guys have any thoughts. So hopefully you guys join me. So we're going to start it off with my best bet, and we're going to talk to two Philly sports off the top. Those are going to be my first two picks that I talk about. And my best bet of the night, my play of the day, is at 7 o'clock. I have the Sixers team total over 117.5 for 3.5 units. This took a bit of a hit with Zion being out, in my opinion. But that might sound weird because Zion is not some, terrible defensive player that we're missing out on there. But Zion would have been pushing them offensively, and maybe if it's a close game, that pushes the Sixers to score a bit more. Hopefully it's not a complete blowout, that they're not attempting any shots in the fourth quarter, basically, and late in the game. Let's pull up a comment here from AJAY. It says Marcus Smart over 9.5 rebounds and assists. Let's pull up Marcus Smart's game logs here. Last game, he had 12 combined. The game before that, 16 combined. The game before that, 16 combined. Before that, it was a bit hit or miss. But, yeah, that seems like an absolutely rock-solid bet. 3.5 rebounds, 6 assists per game. So that's 9.5, I guess. So that makes sense that's where it's set. But over the last 3 games, he's hit that comfortably. I like that bet. I'm not much of a player prop guy, but that makes a ton of sense. I'm sure my guy Pat Moran, if he's watching, would appreciate that bet. So let's talk about my Sixers best bet, my team total over 117.5 for 3.5 units over the New Orleans Pelicans, who have a bottom 5 defense in the NBA defensive rating wise. The Sixers have scored 121 plus in 4 of the last 6 games, which would go 3.5 points over this team total. The Sixers have won 6 in a row, and in that stretch of time, the Sixers offensive rating is all the way up to 122, and that ranks 4th in the NBA over that stretch. On defense, the Pelicans are missing their one big man who can hang with Joel Embiid, and that is Steven Adams. The Pelicans are 40-26 on the over, and that's not just because they can score, but it's because of their defense. They average 115.1 points scored, and they also give up 115.1 points scored. Their net differential is literally 0. That's crazy, but I don't know if I've ever seen that before. But I expect the Sixers to win tonight and to be up near the 130 range after a disappointing showing against the Pelicans when they were shorthanded without Embiid and Simmons a few weeks ago. I expect a better performance from the Sixers. Even without Zion, I expect this to go way over 117.5. So that moves us on to the other team in the city where I'm wearing on my jersey, I have on my hat, the Philadelphia Phillies, plus 131 on the money line at the Atlanta Braves for 2 units. I was not initially going to bet on the Phillies, but then I saw the lineup, and I'll give it to you real quick. You have Kutch in the leadoff spot, Rhys Hoskins batting second, Bryce Harper batting third, JT Realmuto batting fourth, Alec Boehm batting fifth, Didi Gregorius batting sixth, Gene Segura back off his injury, batting seventh, Odubel Herrera batting eighth. I think that's our perfect lineup, and I expect a win tonight just because I'm happy about the lineup being back intact. I'm feeling excited to see the guys back in it with Bryce, JT, and Gene all back in the lineup after none of them being in it last night. Coming off of a 4-game sweep for the Brewers, you have to imagine that confidence is high. These teams are exceptionally aware of the starting pitcher on the other team with well over 100 plate appearances on the roster against both of these guys on either side. The Braves have hit 237 and 125 at-bats against Zach Eflin, while the Phillies have hit 269 against Charlie Morton. Bryce, JT, Gene, and Didi have all had tremendous success against Charlie Morton. On the flip side, only really Dansby Swanson and, of course, Ronald Acuna Jr. have had notable success against Zach Eflin. In total, I'm just going with the Phillies because I like their lineup tonight, and they've had success against Charlie Morton in the past. My dad said, perfect. That's a shot at Odubel Herrera. He wants Maton to be in center field. I just don't know if he has the ability. I don't know if he's done it before. I would love to see Maton out there. And if they were able to get Maton's bat in the lineup over Odubel, if that wouldn't kill you in center, then I'm 100% open to playing Maton out in center. I've even talked about on the Daily Dose yesterday, I talked about maybe trying McCutchen out in center, maybe trying Brad Miller out in center. Maybe they're not going to be good defensively, but getting their bats in the lineup and making sure Brad Miller's bat in the lineup could be important down the stretch. He's been pretty big for us. So moving on to my first non-Philly bet of the night At 7:10, I have the Minnesota Twins money line minus 130 at the Detroit Tigers for 1.5 units. This doesn't mean much, but this is maybe the craziest stat I've seen all year, so I wanted to drop it on you guys. The Twins are 11-8 in 9-inning baseball games this year, but 0-11 in 7-inning and extra inning games this season. Basically, I think this means the Twins' record has been mostly due to bad luck and a bad closer in Alex Colomé, who is no longer pitching in high leverage situations for the Twins. All of the Twins' underlying offensive numbers are top 5 and in line with where they were last year or so, and they are still top 10 in OPS, which is a very important stat. Matt Shoemaker may be an average pitcher, but not against the Detroit Tigers in his career. In 7 career starts against the Tigers, Shoemaker is 5-1 with a .79 ERA and a .75 WHIP. He's averaging just under 6 2/3 innings per start against the Tigers in his career. The guys on the Tigers roster are 6 for 56, batting .107 against Shoemaker on his career. Detroit is 9-23 this season with a run differential of -68. Both stats that are far and away the worst in baseball. Their .604 OPS is the lowest in the league, and that goes with the worst bullpen ERA and defense in the league. The Tigers are a bad roster. Tarik Skubal is the Tigers' worst starter, and he's going on the mound tonight. And whenever Skubal exits the game, Detroit's bullpen is absolutely exhausted following their series against Boston and is already the worst bullpen in baseball. So I like the Twins money line minus 130 for 1.5 units over the Tigers. At 7:10, also, I like the Cleveland Indians minus 120 on the money line versus the Cincinnati Reds in the Battle of Ohio for 1.5 units. The Reds' offense has been bad, but on the road, they've been awful. The Cincinnati Reds have scored the fewest runs on the road 1+ month into the season, and they're the only team well below the Mendoza line on the road. I'll go with Zach Plesac over Wade Miley, even if that hasn't been the correct take so far this season. And even though the Indians' offense has not been great, I'll ride with their offense over the Cincinnati Reds' offense, which has just been dreadful on the road. So I'm going with the Indians minus 120 on the money line for 1.5 units. At 7:10, this is a bigger play for me. I have the Arizona Diamondbacks money line plus 117 at the New York Mets for 3 units. 4 of the top 5 guys in the Mets lineup tonight are batting .233 or below, and only Pete Alonso and Kevin Pillar are over that average. The Mets offense has been extremely disappointing, maybe one of the most disappointing in the league so far this year. Meet Zach Gallen, who the Mets players are 4 for 24, batting .167 against in their career. I expect Gallen to keep the Mets low scoring, which should make up for the D-backs' struggling offense. He shut down the Braves earlier this year in a full game, complete game shutout. He can do it to the Mets too. The D-backs are 3-2 when Gallen starts, and the Mets are 2-3 when Peterson starts. I think there's great value here with plus 117 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then with my last pick of the night at 8:15, I have the St. Louis Cardinals team total over 4 runs versus the Colorado Rockies for 3 units. The Cardinals have scored 4 runs or more in 18 of their 32 games and have failed to do so only 14 times. Last season, Austin Gomber was an excellent reliever for the Cardinals and got traded from Nolan Arenado and has been a terrible starter for the Rockies. Jameson Taylor, what's up, man? How you doing? I expect Nolan Arenado to go deep on Austin Gomber since he's the only guy with experience against him. The Rockies have played 31 games and have kept their opponent to 3 runs or below only 8 times. The Rockies have a bottom 5 bullpen in baseball, and I don't expect Gomber to go deep after 2 straight bad starts from Gomber. After 3 straight quality starts, it seems like he's back to his old ways. I feel very confidently in the St. Louis Cardinals offense tonight, going over 4 runs versus the Colorado Rockies for 3 units. So let's recap my picks real quick. My record in May so far is 17-6 at plus 19 units, and my best bet in May so far is 5-1 if you're joining us late. My best bet at 7 o'clock is the Sixers team total over 117.5 for 3.5 units. At 7:20, I have the Phillies money line plus 131 at the Braves for 2 units. At 7:10, I have the Minnesota Twins money line minus 130 at the Detroit Tigers for 1.5 units. At 7:10, I also have the Cleveland Indians money line minus 120 versus the Cincinnati Reds for 1.5 units. At 7:10, I also have the Arizona Diamondbacks plus 117 on the money line at the New York Mets for 3 units. And at 8:15, I have the St. Louis Cardinals team total over 4 runs versus the Colorado Rockies. And that wraps up my picks of the night. If you guys are in the comments, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being a part of the Tough Cover Click. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm already looking at the board a little bit. I like some stuff that I'm seeing early on the board. So thank you for joining. You can follow me on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Tough Cover Pod. You can follow the Painted Lines on Twitter at the Painted Lines. You can subscribe to the Painted Lines wherever you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the winners.